Good evening. In line with our values at Yorkshire Forward of openness, we've just given you an insight into what happens at Yorkshire Forward in Victoria House. You'll have noticed the subliminal Tom Raden flashing up there as well, which I think is one of my staff having a bit of a joke about me. Some people might say, why are you celebrating tonight? We're in the teeth of the worst recession since the Second World War. We've got huge problems to deal with in the banking system, in everyday business, and people may be asking that question. Certainly someone was asking me that question earlier tonight. I was supposed to be at the Cat and Bagpipes in East Arlesey tonight, playing dominoes in the Titch Watson Cup. So I've had a very clear message from one of my friends about my sense of priority. They're not happy that I'm here. But the serious point is that, of course, we've got to celebrate. And of course, we've got to celebrate innovation. Because for all the emergency work we're doing at the moment, for all the helping people back into jobs, helping businesses with working capital, the train to gain, helping people subsidise their training, a whole raft of things that are going on. The real key to the future prosperity of this region is about innovating. It's about competitive advantage, not on a grand scale, but on a scale of every single business. And for this region, of getting ahead of the game generally and tapping into our great assets. And I could try and come up with I'm doing a bit of a wander around today to try and sort of break it up a bit. Those of you who've seen some of my speeches before, what we I think is important is that we tap into the assets that we've got in this region. And if I was to pick out one sector, or cluster in the economy, it would be wrong. What I would pick out about Yorkshire and Humber is that we actually don't just talk a good game about innovation and about our economy, we get things done. 88 startups coming out of our universities, the second best in the UK in healthcare alone. 3 of our top universities, York, Sheffield and Leeds, in the top 15 in the country in terms of research quality. World-class management schools like Bradford. We've got the AMRC in Sheffield and Rotherham, reducing the time it takes to make a fan blade, and I'm not a technician as you may have gathered, in a jet engine from 26 hours to 2 hours. That's the asset that we've got in this region. The AMRC in Sheffield was not built on some great idea from Yorkshire Forward. It was actually built on a guy who many of you will know from Sheffield University. And it's how we tap into that and then use that and grow that cluster from these great ideas. That's what it's about. So getting things done is what we're good at. And that means businesses, many of whom are here tonight, universities and research institutions, again, many of which are here tonight, and the public sector. And let me just say that in our region, we have fewer councils than the rest of the country, and I believe we've got more business-friendly councils than anywhere else in the country, because when I talk to my counterparts, having the economy at the heart of the way that you think about your place is not something that is prevalent right across the country. And I think it's something that we've developed almost by stealth in this region, and something that we should be proud of and that we should build on. And I know that one of you or 2 of you, or maybe more of you, will have an example where the public sector is just not bothered about the economy. But generally speaking, it is central to the dialogue and the strategy of every place in this region. And it's also about an RDA. We sit between the public and the private sectors, and we try and make things happen, and we try and bring things together. And we use your money, taxpayers' money, to try and do it. Now, I'm not going to do a big speech at the start, but I just wanted, before I finish, to talk about 3 challenges that we've got and that we're trying to respond to in an innovative way. and with that can-do mentality. The first is financial services. This part of the region has built its success over the last 10 years on the financial services sector. And HBOS and what happened to Bradford and Bingley were quite a psychological blow, I think, for this part of the world. The reality is that however significant those two institutions are and remain, we have 100,000 people that work directly in financial services in the Leeds City region and 300,000 indirectly. It's a huge sector. It does not mean the end of that sector because the banking crisis is happening and we're having to deal with it. And we've got a task force that's responding and looking at the way we can innovate on the financial services side because things are changing. So those old Yorkshire old-fashioned values of trust and honesty and straight talking and mutuality, which was at the heart of the building society movement, actually are right back in vogue. And they're going to be right back in vogue for the next 10, 20 years. So let's build on that. We're also used to dealing with debt and toxic debt in some places. So, you know, if the government decides they want a bad bank, I think we should have it in Yorkshire. I don't think there'd be anything wrong with that. The second area I want to talk about is low carbon, because our history in Yorkshire is built on energy and taking coal out the ground, developing the steel industry, heavy manufacturing and engineering skills. If you go to the real core of what's driven a lot of the Yorkshire economy, it's around that expertise in engineering skills and how you make things and deal with the effects of that. So in low carbon terms, we have a massive opportunity. And we've got together with all the region's universities and we're setting up a low carbon futures institute to work across disciplines, across social sciences, across environmental technology and many other areas to make sure that we're ahead of the game in getting investment from the Technology Strategy Board, from international research into this region to help with that low carbon economy, because it's crucial to the future of the country. And carbon capture and storage is at the forefront of what we're trying to achieve in terms of individual sectors within that. There is no better place in Europe or the world to trial carbon capture and storage than Yorkshire. We have a cluster of the biggest energy producers and single point sources of carbon, and 30 miles the other side we have redundant gas fields under the North Sea. The problem with carbon capture is economy of scale. You've got to do it somewhere where it makes sense, where you've got a cluster. So it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. We've just got to persuade one or two other people about that, but I'm sure that we will. And the final thing I wanted to talk about before I finish and let you enjoy your meal is YTV, Yorkshire Television, and what happened there. Because again, there are some things that have happened over the last few weeks that I think are psychological. Everybody in this region, I think, had a real pride in what Yorkshire Television has done over the last 20 years. And if you look at the capacity and capability that we've got in the region, in the multimedia sector, we still produce 800 hours of programming in this region. And YTV, although really important, is a part of that again. So remember that bigger picture. But we can't just stand by and let this happen without trying to salvage the great people and the great assets that have been built by people like Richard Gregory over the years in this region. And I'm confident we can do that. And we'll be working with Screen Yorkshire, we'll be working with ITV, with the council. We've already been talking this morning, Leeds Council, Yorkshire Forward and Screen Yorkshire, about what we can do. We've got a meeting set up with ITV and we're going to make sure that we capitalise on this. We're not just going to lay down and let something happen to us. So there are great opportunities, and if you look at that screen industry, This Is England, the BAFTA-winning film, The Damned United, just about to come out, Unforgiven, Red Riding plays, all of that is through our investment in Screen Yorkshire, and there's more to come. So by no means write off that sector in this region. The only way we'll succeed is, in all those cases, by innovating I said I wouldn't go on, and I have, so I apologise for that. But enjoy the evening, relax. It's a fantastic building. They were so foresighted when they produced and built this building. They even wrote the word forward on the top of it. You know, they just forgot the Yorkshire, that's all. We're working on that. I'm having a word with Paul Rogerson later. But thank you, enjoy your meal, and we'll come back to you later on tonight. Thank you.